Welcome to another Acoustic Alternatives. We're in Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, the home of the podcast since 2020, back when I was wearing masks and interviewing folks like Chris DuPont and other favorite local musicians. And it is a great place to do your podcasting, or if you're a band or even a solo artist, DJ, we have rooms here at Grove Studios that are applicable for you if you want to make noise that wouldn't annoy your neighbors otherwise. This is a fantastic room for actually the building in general. Grove Studios in Ypsilanti is what you're looking for. And today with this podcast, I am 100% confident that we will have our 6,000th listen on the audio forms of all the podcasts that exist. This is podcast number 71, and it is an honor to welcome Mr. Peter Madcat Ruth, who does jazz, blues, roots, rock. I mean, what don't you do, really? And he's always a joy to watch in concert. So welcome to the podcast, Mr.
I'm so glad to be here.
You should probably be talking into this microphone.
Yeah. I should be talking into that one. All right.
That's the one.
I'm glad to be here.
So good to have you. And they're celebrating a 75th birthday coming up with a show at the Arc next month.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a good one.
Looking forward to that very much. And generally speaking, you're a pretty happy cat. I don't know where Madcat comes from.
It was a high school nickname. It stuck after a while.
It has. It has. I think that's. If I said Peter Ruth to somebody, they'd be like, Madcat?
Yeah,
it's part of
exactly.
Everybody who calls you anything is always in there.
Yeah.
All right. So you know, because we talked briefly beforehand, there's some performance that goes along with the podcast.
Okay.
So what would you like to start with to represent your musical everything that you do?
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start with a jaw harp and harmonica solo.
All right. What's the song called?
Don't know.
Oh.
Jaw harp and harmonica improvisation is the name of this one.
There we go.
All right. And that's how it ends, right? Like that.
Improvs can be any length they want, can't they?
That's correct.
And if I don't know it, I can't anticipate the ending. Thank you for that, sir. All right, so 75 years. We've got a lot of ground to cover, and we don't have a ton of time.
Yeah.
We only have so much studio time booked here. So let's back all the way up to young you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Chicago suburbs.
Okay.
Born in 1949.
Mm-hmm.
And got into music because I heard the Kingston Trio on the radio in 1959, 10 years old. I fell in love with the Kingston Trio. Oh, my goodness. And a year later, I was 11, I got a ukulele,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned how to play the Kingston Trio songs. Oh, before I had the ukulele, I had this little hand drum, a Hopi Indian hand drum, and I'd play along with the records on my Hopi Indian hand drum at age 10, thinking that the Kingston Trio would discover me and they'd add me as their percussionist, and it would become the Kingston Quartet.
Ooh,
Somehow it never happened. I don't know. But anyway, I really love music, and that was just the beginnings of this folk music revolution that was happening. And there's a radio station in Chicago, the WFMT, that had a folk music show called The Midnight Special.
Mm-hmm.
I'd listen to it every week, and I wanted to play guitar. And finally, at about age 12, my parents got me a guitar, and I played the guitar and the ukulele for a while, and then the ukulele kind of fell away, and I just studied guitar. Took lessons at a local music store, and then I went to the Old Town School of Folk Music for a few years every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Learned more about how to play guitar. And at age 15, I was listening to that radio station, the same one, the same radio show, the Midnight Special, and I heard Brownie McGee and Sonny Terry. And I just, whoa, that was the sound. That harmonica like captured me. It just took me over. I said, I'm going to have to learn how to do that. My father had a harmonica. He had one harmonica, and he'd play that sort of thing, but not as well, because he only played it about 10 minutes a year.
Oh, that's not much practice.
Yeah, but he played it, and I, once in a while I'd hear him play it, and So I got that harmonica out, and I put on the Sonny Terry record, but he was playing. Now, harmonicas come in 12 different keys, and fortunately, I had this collection called Folk Music from Newport, and on this collection, there was 2 Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee records, and one was in the key of F, and my father had a B-flat harmonica, so when I played along, hey, it was the same harmonica that Sonny Terry was using. The other was in a different key, and so when I played along, it sounded like,
not as pretty.
Definitely a dissonant key. So, but I stuck with that one song. I played it over and over, and finally, someone. It was a guy at the counter behind selling guitar strings and picks and harmonicas at the Old Town School of Folk Music, and he told me about how what key to play with different. If you want to play blues, it's crazy stuff. But if you want to play blues in the key of C, you get an F harmonica. If you want to play blues in the key of E, you get an A harmonica. And
do you notice the way I'm looking at you? Like,
yeah.
what? Like a puppy dog saying, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. Except it does. It makes perfect sense because the harmonica, like this is a C harmonica. And if you blow in it, there's a C chord. But if you inhale, it's a G chord. And the blues guys always started on the inhaling note. And so that's why I had to learn what harmonica to get.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I started playing harmonica. My harmonica playing improved a lot faster than my guitar playing. So the first few years, I only listened to Sonny Terry. And then one day I went down to the place called Jazz Record Mart in downtown Chicago, and I said, you have any blues harmonica players? And they said, yeah, we have records by these guys. And you have anyone else besides Sonny Terry? And they said, yeah, here, get this Junior Wells record. And that really blew my mind. And then I got the Little Walter record, and then the Sonny Boy Williamson and James Cotton and Big Walter Horton. And
the door was fully open at this point.
I jumped right in. So in high school, when I should have been studying my homework, I was playing harmonica and guitar all the time. Look what happened to me.
Look what happened to you. Did you ever hold another job that wasn't music related in your lifetime?
Yeah, for about 9 months.
Okay, what was
I
that?
soldered circuit boards for about 9 months. And then I figured out if I spent 40 hours a week trying to get gigs rather than soldering circuit boards, I wouldn't have to solder circuit boards anymore. And I realized then if I tried to get work for only 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week, I could get enough work to not have to solder circuit boards.
So for damn near 60 years, you've made a living with music.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing.
I mean, it is. It's hard to do.
Yeah, it is, and it's harder now than it used to be, but it's.
Well, I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
That's on page 2.
Okay.
That's okay. We can go through it. At your age, I mean, just thinking about chronologically what happened in the music industry.
Oh my goodness!
You got to live through the Beatles on Sullivan at a pretty ripe age. You were only about 15.
Yeah,
right?
I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and I'll even blow your mind further. I saw Elvis Presley on Ed Sullivan show when I was like 6 years old or something.
What? So these things can't not influence you. I know that isn't the kind of music you play, but that was such an impactful thing.
Absolutely, and living through the whole folk music revival, and then living through the British invasion, and British music, and Jimi Hendrix. Oh my gosh, blew my mind, and yeah, it was great. All that British blues stuff was, fabulous. And of course, I had already been listening to Chicago blues, so a lot of people got into blues after listening to the Rolling Stones and John Mayall, and they said, "Where's this coming from?" And they traced it back to blues. But I was already in the blues in the blues store. I used to listen to the AM radio in Chicago at night, and they'd hear the blues shows. There's two of them in particular: the Big Bill Hill show on WOPA and the Purvis Band, the Blues Man on WVON. They blues on the radio at night on the AM radio. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, based on what you're saying, you could have probably joined the Rolling Stones then, because they were like playing the music you already knew.
Yeah, and
Kingston Trio, forget it.
They're a few years older than I am, but we were influenced by the same stuff.
Did you ever meet the Kingston Trio? I know they were.
I never did.
Could have happened, right? I mean, you've been a lot of places. You've seen a lot of folks. Well, then we lived through the 60s and that influential age of living through the Beatles and Stones and having that blues background. You form. When's your first actual band formed?
Well, that was in high school. I had a band called the Petey Tweedy Band, and You were Petey, apparently.
Well,
both of us were Petey. So we were both Petey and we were both Tweedy. There's another guy named Peter that played guitar and flute, and I played guitar and ukulele and harmonica, and we had a little duo that played folk music mostly. Then I was in a number of blues band sort of things.
Before you moved to Ann Arbor?
Yeah. And then, but also before I moved to Ann Arbor, it was 1968. I just had a chance meeting with Chris Brubeck, the son of Dave Brubeck, at a jam session. And we had a great time at that jam session. And let me see, I was 20 years old and he was, I was 19 and he was 16 at the time.
Really? Okay.
And he said, at the end of the jam session, he said, I really like the way you play harmonica. In a year, I'm going to graduate from high school. I'm going to start a rock and roll band. We're going to make a record. We're going to tour the world. Write down your name and address and phone number. And I wrote it down and gave it to him. And I left thinking, what a dreamer. You know, it was a fun jam session, but I'll never see him again. But sure enough, a year later, he sends me a letter and says, I want you to come to Interlochen Arts Academy, where I'm going to be graduating from high school in June 1969. So I went to Interlochen Arts Academy in June 1969. We made a demo record at the radio station on a 4-track machine. And that demo record led us to a recording studio, and someone heard the demo and said, yeah, this is a good band. It was his band of all Interlochen students except for me. And that demo got us a demo in a real recording studio, 16-track recording studio, and they were rare back in 1969. There was only, 6 16-track machines in the whole United States, but there was one in
wow,
one in Nashville, one in Chicago, one in New York, one in Hollywood, and we went to the one in Hollywood and recorded
That New Heavenly
demo,
Blue?
Yeah, New Heavenly Blue. We recorded a demo, and that got us a recording contract with RCA Records. That one came out in 1970. Yeah.
According to my notes, 1970. Then
Yeah.
in 72, an Atlantic Records record.
Yeah,
And
so the RCA dropped us, and we got picked up by Atlantic Records. Did another New Heavenly Blue record.
were you aware that one got reissued on CD by Wounded Bird Records?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, they did. That actually, I think it's out there on CD.
I never knew it was on Wounded Bird.
Wounded Bird,
Oh,
a record label that no longer exists, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
But it was a reissue label.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good start to the career. The son of somebody a lot of people know. I mean, who doesn't
Yeah.
know Take Five? Even if you don't
Yeah,
know.
well, it opened doors for us.
Yeah. Why not? Take it. Run.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And then when that band folded, we started a new band called Sky King.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a record contract with Columbia Records. So kind of mind-blowing. I'd been on these 3 major labels when I was still in my 20s.
Fun fact, the Sky King record also reissued by Wounded Bird Records
How about
on
that?
CD.
Well, I knew that one was reissued, but I didn't know by whom.
And actually, Japan in 2020, something from that era got reissued on CD.
That was a good record.
Your stuff's out there. I mean,
Oh,
people
yeah.
want to find your past. It exists out there.
How about that?
My guest today on the podcast, Acoustic Alternatives, is Peter Madcat Ruth. Big birthday celebration happening at the Ark. 75th birthday. Last one
Yeah.
was the 70th birthday. I looked back at some of the videos from that one. It
That was a good one.
Pretty awesome, yeah. Do you want to do another song before we continue this travel through your life?
Okay, I'd be happy to.
What do you want to do?
On this one, I'm going to be playing harmonica in the rack,
Okay, we'll turn that on. It's been muted for reasons unknown.
and the ukulele. I told you I started playing ukulele and then guitar, and then maybe about 15 years ago, I got a ukulele again, and I kind of fell in love with it. I'm playing ukulele, and I'd been playing guitar all along. Every time a band broke up, I'd go play solo for a while, and I'd play guitar and harmonica. Every time I was in a band, they'd say, "No, don't play any guitar." There was always a better guitar player. And but about 15 years ago, I started playing ukulele again, and I hardly play any guitar anymore because I like the ukulele. It's easier. There's less strings. Well, here's an autobiographical song I got here. It's called "Pocket Full of Soul," and it was the soundtrack for a movie, a documentary about harmonica players called "Pocket Full of Soul," and they had a contest that people could write a theme song and send it in, and I won the contest. So this song is on the soundtrack for the movie, the documentary. But it's well, here it is, "Pocket Full of Soul." Well, Sonny Terry, he got to me first. Then Junior Wells, he whetted my thirst. Little Walter blew my mind, with Big Walter Horton right behind. I was on a move, I was on a roll, had a pocket full of soul. Hitchhiking around with my old backpack, I played my harp, I made my own soundtrack. Standing out on the highway side, playing my harp while I waited for a ride. On the roll, on the move, on the roll, had a pocket full of soul. Last roll band. 10-hole harmonica in my hand. Every gig was a one-night stand. Playing my harp, yeah, life was grand. I was on the move, I was on a roll. Had a pocket full of soul. I got a wife, but playing harp is still my life. There's magic in that blues harp sound, and I always have a harp around. Still on the move, still on the roll, got a pocket full of soul. Yeah, still on the move, still on a roll. Got a pocket full of soul.
You're listening to Acoustic Alternatives with my special guest, Peter Madcat Ruth, who's celebrating a 75th birthday at the Ark, and some other shows coming up too, but that's the one we're kind of focusing on today. Playing songs from his lifetime, talking about his life. And we're in Grove Studios in Ypsilanti. This is a great spot for bands to get out of the garage, get into the studio, as they say. You saw the big room. I showed you the big room.
It's a nice one.
You might be able to take your blues band that you currently perform with and like go there and work some stuff out. Just saying.
Well, it's cool. It has a drum set and amps already set up. And
keyboards.
Come right in and play.
Nice little place. Check it out. Grove Studios online in Ypsilanti. You can rent the space by the hour at any time of the day. And in fact, I think it's cheaper to do it at 2 in the morning because, off time. But check it out if you get a chance. All right. So last we checked in, you'd been in a band with Chris Brubeck. We didn't mention that Darius Brubeck was in that band. And
no, actually, he wasn't in that band.
Was it a different band? Oh, Sky King.
So when Sky King finally did fall apart, Chris and I both joined the Darius Brubeck Ensemble.
Okay.
And the Darius Brubeck Ensemble we'd been kind of playing rock and roll, but the Darius Brubeck Ensemble was definitely a jazz-oriented band. And so here I'm in this band, and I was playing harmonica in a horn section. There was a very unusual horn section. There was bass trombone, harmonica, tenor sax, and clarinet. But we'd play horn parts together, and I learned so much about music and about harmonies and playing in a section, and it was a great education. I did that for a couple of years, and then the Darius Brubeck band would sometimes be opening act for Dave Brubeck's quartet. And then Dave Brubeck decided he didn't need a quartet anymore. He decided that he'd just have Darius Brubeck's band back him up. And it was called the Two Generations of Brubeck. Because in the Darius Brubeck band was Darius Brubeck on keyboards, synthesizers, and electric piano. Chris Brubeck on bass and bass trombone, and Danny Brubeck playing the drums. So
you were the only family member that wasn't a family member?
Well, there was others of us.
Okay.
There was others of us too, the clarinet and the saxophone player.
Okay.
But and it started out, like a big band, and then it got smaller and smaller and smaller, and then at one point it was just 4 Brubecks and myself for a couple of years, and then whoops, I was out of there.
So you were living in Ann Arbor at this point in your life when you weren't on the road?
Yeah, exactly.
And then there was a period of darkness.
Yeah, I moved to Ann Arbor to join Chris Brubeck's New Heavenly Blue because after graduating from Interlochen, he came to the University of Michigan.
Smart boy.
And so I moved to Ann Arbor to be in the band. And then he dropped out of school, and then everyone in the band moved to New York except me, because I like Ann Arbor.
I get it. I like it too.
And I'm still here.
You're still here. And we love that about you. So there's a time period, I think if I remember reading and listening to other things, that there's like not much going on musically, and eventually you decide to start a solo career. Is that correct?
Well, it's my solo career started because I'd been in all these bands with Chris Brubeck, and I didn't have to do any booking, and I didn't have to.
Yeah, you weren't leading.
I just show up,
right?
Show up for the gigs, and then I'm in 2 generations of Brubeck, and I'm traveling all over the world, and we're playing nice gigs, and then all of a sudden, boop, I'm out of a gig, and now what am I gonna do? So I started playing the folk music circuit, playing guitar and harmonica on a rack, and because up to then I'd been playing. I started playing folk music back in Chicago, not making any money at it, but doing it.
Yeah.
And so I started playing this folk music circuit, which I got plugged into because the original ARC was on Hill Street, and I lived about 3 or 4 blocks away, and I'd go over there and sit in with traveling musicians, and they'd tell me where they were playing, and I'd try to get gigs in those places, and I did. And then after a while, I'd get a duo or a trio together, and we'd do that for a while, and then I'd be solo again, and then various little bands came around. And
according to my research, that was about 1977 when you started that path.
Yeah,
about 77.
Right.
7 years before an actual recording comes out, from the research I did as well.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And about 29 years before you won the Best New Artist Grammy. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't the Grammy you won. You won a different Grammy, but it was 29 years before the Grammy, which we'll get to.
Yeah. So anyway, I had kind of this mantra that was anything to avoid real work. And so I wanted to play music. I really just wanted to play music. And it took a lot of effort to get the gigs. That's the least favorite part, is calling people up on the phone and saying, I'm wonderful, you should hire me.
Right.
It was really a drag, because every time you do a gig, you do it for one day, and then you're unemployed again. And so so
you should have taken a marketing class. That would have helped. You didn't know that.
Might have helped. But and I would talk with various booking agencies every once in a while, and they said, well, you don't make enough money, so
we're not going to take you.
So we're not going to book you because it wouldn't be worth our time. So, but anyway, I still continued to make a living. Of course, my wife also was working and always made more money than I did. So thank you very much, Connie.
Thanks, Connie. Thanks for letting Peter have his fun.
Yeah.
So the 80s were kind of a tough period, but 1990, I think, is when Madcat and Kane formed.
That's
right?
correct.
And that started to get some attention.
Yeah. I had various bands during the 80s, and I had Madcat's Pressure Cooker. We did a record recorded live at the Blind Pig. Mm-hmm. But then that fell apart. I went solo again. I think I actually quit that band. Quit my own band.
Wasn't the band named? Wait, okay.
Yeah, it was Madcat's Pressure Cooker, and I quit the band and said, you guys can call yourselves Pressure Cooker, but you can't call yourselves Madcat's Pressure Cooker.
Because I'm not in that anymore.
Because I'm not in it anymore. But anyway, I had a gig playing solo at Top of the Park in 1990. I'd already played there quite a few times. Mm-hmm. But I had a solo gig there, and I was going to... And then it became a duo gig because there's a percussionist from Chicago I'd been playing with named Ruben Alvarez, a great percussionist. And he was going to come to do the gig with me. And then the day of or the day, I think it was the morning of the gig, he said he couldn't make it. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Well, I guess I'll play solo. But I'd been jamming with Sherry Kane every once in a while. And I called her up and said, do you want to come and play some songs at Top of the Park? And she said, okay. And actually, later she said, oh, yeah. But she said, okay, I'll do it.
She was calm about it.
Yeah. She
kept you cool.
And so we played Top of the Park, and it went really well. And so we said, well, let's try having a duo for a while. And we did for 24 years.
And several albums and
Yeah.
national touring. And
Right, international touring.
That did great for you.
So, yeah, that was fun.
Things just end sometimes. What caused that to end?
I wanted to play other kinds of music besides just guitar harmonica duo music. I wanted to get back into a band. I wanted to do more improvisation. I wanted to check out different types of music, and it seemed like a good time. 24 years is
That's a
pretty
long
good.
time. Yeah,
a lot longer than the Beatles, but not as long as the Rolling Stones. So
exactly
there you go.
right. Well, I've over the years have seen you jump on stage with the cream of the crop of Michigan's musicians. I know, like most of the people that you know are people that I've either interviewed. Like I'm wearing the Rachel Davis shirt; she's been in here twice. I have an understanding of what your popularity is in my own state, but what kind of recognition do you have outside of here? You said you did some international touring. When you go places, are people as equally excited to see you as I am?
No.
In short, no.
Well, except I think I'm more famous in Brazil than I am here.
What?
Because over the last 20 years, I've done 13 tours in Brazil with a band called the Big Joe Manfra Blues Band.
Oh, okay.
And we put out a CD in Brazil. And the reason I say I'm more famous in Brazil is they have a show, well, it's now off the air, but it was called the Jose Suarez Show. And it was like the Tonight Show. The same format as the Tonight Show. There's Jose Suarez behind a desk and a couple of seats there, and a band, a really good band to play music. And I've never been on the Tonight Show, but I've been on the Jose Suarez Show twice.
Wow.
And so people would, just walking around the streets in Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo, say, oh, I saw that guy on Jose Suarez Show. So
That's cool.
Anyway, more famous in Brazil than here, but I haven't been there for, 7 or 8 years now. So.
Well, there's got to be some parts of America that you have followings, right? Places you
Mostly
can go.
Michigan.
Mostly Michigan. Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just...
Oh, and also harmonica conventions.
Yes.
When I go to a harmonica convention, I am definitely a celebrity. When I go to the Kroger store in Westgate, I'm just a guy from town.
We know him.
Yeah,
We know
yeah,
his fans.
Right. So, and that's fine. I'm very. I don't need to prove anything anymore. I'm 75 years old. I'm playing harmonica. I like doing it. I play music.
Pretty good at it.
I have my own band. I play in another band called the Schrock Brothers Band, which is wonderful. And
West Coast or west side of the state?
West side of the state.
Yeah, I'm not West Coast. You know what I meant.
West Coast of Michigan.
Yeah. Well, actually, you actually led nicely to the question I had already formed for the next question when you said you're well known at the harmonica places. As music fans in general, we're more readily available in our heads to judge a great guitar player, a great piano player, a great singer. But how does, I'm not saying you're not one because I absolutely think you are one, but how does one judge a great harmonica player? What makes a harmonica player great versus the guy who's picked it up a year ago? 75 years, you're playing most of your life, but like how do we judge it? Is it just how we feel is it speed?
Well, it has to do with if it
tone.
The real thing is if that music moves you.
That's true. You're right.
And then there's technique, and there's someone like Howard Levy, just his technique is like mind blowing, and it moves me. Someone like Bob Dylan, his technique is really very shallow, except he moves people. People love to hear Bob Dylan play harmonica. Is he what I call Bob Dylan a great harmonica player? No, but yes, because he has a sound that's his own sound, and
it's been imitated.
And it's been imitated, but
who's your favorite?
Who's my favorite? I have so many.
Well,
I don't know.
You named a couple already, I suppose. I mean, for me, growing up, thinking of the harmonica as let's say a 14, 15-year-old, Jay Giles Band is what comes to mind for me. I mean,
sure, Magic Dick Jay Giles Band is fabulous.
He was great. And
great stuff. Yeah.
That's the stuff that, other than you, because I see you more, obviously Jay Giles Band isn't something I can see anymore, but that's what comes to mind for harmonica for a guy like me with my age group. But, it's just not as common of an instrument. There isn't a lot of folks out there making.
Yeah, and so it's a lot easier to be the best harmonica player around than it is to be the best guitar player around.
The competition is small.
Yeah, because it's just a small.
It's a microcosm of the music industry. Well, I was glancing through your website. It has some very nice archival photos of you as a young man. I did notice that you and I are going in opposite directions. So you used to have short hair.
Yeah.
I had long hair, and you have long hair. Now I have no hair. Look at us now, I say. Yeah. There's some pretty cool quotes on there as well. It says, Madcat plays some weird shit. I like that one. And he can coax a smile from a rock. I like that one as well.
Oh, yeah, good.
Speaking of smiles, the person who gives me the most smiles, I think, when I interview her is Rachel Davis, and she will be part of your birthday party. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I've known Rachel a long time. In fact, I met her when she was 13 years old, I think. I know her parents before I knew her. But yeah, I've been hearing Rachel Davis. I mean, I didn't hear her when she was 13. I heard her more like when she was 21 or 22, and she's one of my favorites. She's great.
One of your
singer.
Guests.
And she sang at my 70th birthday party, and I wanted her to come back. By the way, at the Ark, I had a 50th birthday party and a 60th birthday party and a 70th. I said, I'm not going to wait till I'm 80 years old. No. So
good idea.
The 75th birthday is April 2nd.
Okay.
At the Ark. It's a Tuesday.
Okay. Rachel's going to be there. Give me the rest of the lineup.
Okay. Seth Bernard is going to be in the lineup.
Awesome.
And Sherry Kane. We're coming out of retirement.
Nice.
And one of my favorite harmonica players that I met at a harmonica convention is a guy named Buddy Green.
You sent me a video, and I was very impressed with him.
Buddy Green with Greene. Amazing harmonica player. He lives in Nashville. And, he's really great. If you look up Buddy Green on YouTube, you might find him playing in Carnegie Hall with... playing the William Tell Overture on harmonica.
That's what you sent me. Yeah, that was pretty impressive that he could move that crowd, right?
Yeah,
that's probably not what they came to see.
But he also plays. There's a harmonica player in Nashville named Charlie McCoy, and Charlie McCoy was the #1 session harmonica player in Nashville from like 1960 to 2000, 40 years of playing on everybody's record. I mean, he was the harmonica player in Nashville. You might not know the name, but you've heard him if you've ever heard any country western music. Anyway, he and Buddy Green became good friends, and they have some things together where they're just tearing up. And so anyway, I wanted Buddy Green to be part of this extravaganza. On my 70th birthday, I had Howard Levy and Corky Siegel. That was big fun. So
you had somebody else too who's pretty well known these days.
And my 60th birthday, I had the Steppin' In It band with Andy Wilson on harmonica.
I got to say, the Steppin' In It show that just happened a month or so ago was great.
It was.
And when you got up and did that duet with him, it was so good.
It was a lot of fun.
I was wishing somebody was recording that professionally so that I could take that and present it to the station I work at and go, play this. Because that was pretty special. But didn't Billy Strings play your 70th as well?
Yeah, he did. He showed up.
He's done okay for himself.
Yeah.
plays pine knob these days. No big deal. Somebody who hears kind of music that used to play at the Ark. It's nice to see them get the recognition.
Yeah, I met Billy Strings when he was like 18, and he was a street performer in Traverse City at the time. And yeah, he's doing all right.
He's doing all right. How about another song before we continue?
All right.
What would you like to do this time?
Okay, well, it's a Robert Johnson song.
Oh, going way back.
Way back. In fact, it says right here, 1936.
I wasn't around then.
Well, I wasn't either. So playing ukulele, it's not considered a blues instrument.
No.
I did hear once, I read that T-Bone Walker, the blues guitar player, started on ukulele. So how about that? But anyway.
Was he a Don Ho fan, maybe?
I don't know. So you're not supposed to play blues on the ukulele. But I do anyway. Well, Beatrice got a little phonograph, but it won't say a lonesome word. Yeah, Beatrice got a little phonograph, but it won't say a lonesome word. What evil have I done? What evil has the poor girl heard? We used to love that little phonograph. But gee, baby, we broke the winding chain. We used to love that little phonograph, but we broke the winding chain. Now you're taking all my loving, and you gave it to some other man. We used to play it on the sofa. We used to play outside the wall. The needles, they got rusty, now we'll not play it all. We used to play it on the sofa. We used to play it upside the wall. The needles, they got rusty now, and I will not play it all. Beatrice, won't you bring your clothes back home? Come on, little Beatrice, come on. bring your clothes back home. We can wind up that little phonograph just to hear the little motor moan.
My guest today on Acoustic Alternatives, once again, Peter Madcat Ruth. We're in the Grove Studios in Ypsilanti in their podcast studio, and a studio that, again, has many rooms that you can pick from, not just a podcast studio. There's a DJ sets studio over there, and there's a room you can master your record in right next to us. Pretty cool space. And thank you for spinning back the wheels of time for me.
That was an alternative acoustic event just then.
It right was. Sure was. And since I'm not as familiar with the Robert Johnson catalog, what is the title of that song?
It's called Phonograph Blues.
Phonograph Blues. Thank you.
Oh, and it says it was about the phonograph records before there was electricity, where you'd have to wind up the machine, and they broke the chain that wind up the machine. And the needles, they got rusty because they didn't have diamond needles. They had steel needles back then. So
we've got one of those in the front room of our house, actually. It used to belong to my wife's grandparents. All right, so we kind of skipped over accidentally. It was about 2006 where you were part of a Grammy-winning album. Is that correct?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Tell me about that.
So I've been playing during my career. I've been playing folk music. I've been playing blues bands, rock and roll bands, jazz bands, Americana music. And so I got a call from William Balcom, and he says, I'm going to record this 3 CD set of music called Innocence and Experience. What's it called? Anyway, it was his epic composition with the U of M Orchestra, with different choruses, with a children's chorus, with a reggae band, Jeremy, a fiddle player, this huge thing. They had to build the stage out at Hill Auditorium.
Jeremy Kittle,
right. They had to build the stage out further into the audience to fit everyone on the stage. He wanted me to come in and play a folk guitar and sing a song. So I did it. And that recording, just mind-blowing, huge thing, became the classical record album of the year. And because I sang on it, I won a Grammy Award for featured artist on the Grammy, the classical record of the year.
Still pretty cool.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Do I consider myself a classical musician? Not really. However, it's a genuine. I didn't get a trophy, but I did get a plaque, a gold embossed plaque thing.
Nice.
It's hanging on my wall at home. It's real. When it came in the mail, I didn't know it was up for a Grammy or anything. And this package comes in the mail, and I thought it was junk mail. I thought, why is the Grammy Foundation sending me anything? And I didn't open it for a few days, and then I opened it up, and my God, I won a Grammy Award. You know, it's like, okay, but if you win a Grammy Award, it helps you, helps your notoriety, helps you get gigs. So there.
Looks good on a resume.
Yeah, it looks good on a resume, right?
For sure.
And you brought it up, so it must look good.
Yes. No, I mean, it's impressive. It's kind of cool. Just anything that preserves your legacy is a cool thing. So
why not?
So this, quiet down over there. So we're at 75th birthday party at the Ark will also feature your current blues project, will it not?
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's my current project, but I wouldn't call it a blues project. It's an eclectic music project.
Okay. The Karma
It's called
Quartet.
the Karma Quartet, and it's called that because it's C period A period R period M A period quartet. It's hard to type out, you know.
Yes.
Capitals and periods, but it's C for Churchville, John Churchville, the tabla player and drummer. A for Andes, Brennan Andes, an amazing bass player
Yeah,
who
he's great.
started the Mac Pods and who's been on hundreds of albums and
Stages.
stages. And,
I see him almost as much as I see you on stage.
Yeah, he's an in-demand bass player in Ann Arbor. R is for Ripke, who is Dan Ripke, who was in a band called the Back 40 for about 15 years, touring around a kind of a rock bluegrass hybrid sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then M.A. for Madcat.
It spelled something.
Yeah, it's spelled something. So we only had one gig, one project. It was a video project in 2021 where all four of us were in a band called Sumkali, mm-hmm. Which was a Indian music jam band extravaganza that John Churchill had started, the tabla player. Mm-hmm. And the Sumkali had a gig, but in 2021, but the band had already fallen apart, and the violin player moved to Georgia. But the Gopherwood Music in Cadillac said, "Well, can you send in a video?" Because no one was having live music in January 2021.
No, they were not.
And so we sent in a video. The four of us, just former members of Sumkali, put a video together, sent it in. And we had such a good time doing it that we said, hey, we have a band. Because my band, the Madcat Midnight Blues Journey, which I'd been touring around the state for 8 years, it also died in that time period. So all of a sudden I had this new band dropped in my lap. And I don't think I would have chosen that name, but
that's clever.
It stuck.
Yeah. I was going to ask how you picked the musicians, but it was kind of by default. It was I had this many and now I have this many, so now it's a new band.
Exactly. And we had such a good time. And we always have such a good time playing music together because we're all very eclectic and we all listen to a huge variety of music. And so what kind of music do we play? It's categorizable.
Yeah. Remember making up words here. It's okay.
But we have elements of Indian music, we have elements of blues, elements of Americana, jazz, rock, even a little Motown influence in there. It's just in this blend, and we call it eclectic, traditional, and improvisational music. I don't know.
Because you can.
Because what else is it? I don't know. It doesn't fit in the rock and roll bin very well. It doesn't fit in the blues bin very well. So anyway, it's what we play. In world music, I mean, it has that Indian influence.
Well, you do realize at your age, people don't spend a lot of time discovering new music. And I don't know that you do, but I have a feeling you do. You seem like the kind of guy that's not content to listen to the same thing you've listened to all the time.
No, but it's a funny thing. When I go to find new music, I usually am looking for music recorded before 1940.
Okay.
I love the going way back and hearing what was,
the blueprints.
Yeah,
really.
where this stuff all comes from. And recording itself is like recording something and putting it on a 78 record was like in the early 19 teens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that old. It's and then with that in mind, I've been playing music half of recorded history.
That's true.
It's crazy.
You've accomplished quite a few things. In fact, you've got a microphone with your nickname on it.
Yeah.
People can buy that microphone, the Sharker?
The Shaker Madcat Harmonica microphone. Yeah, it's an invention of mine.
You've got a patent on, and you make a little...
No, I don't have a patent on it,
on.
and I don't make any money from it, but at least I have the notoriety that it's out there.
Why? That should be part of your income.
It should be, but it isn't. So there you go.
Well, you've seemed like you've done a lot of traveling in your life. Johnny Cash has. You've been everywhere. Have you considered writing a book of your life's journeys? You've been a lot of places.
Actually, I have finished a book of a portion of my life's journey.
Okay.
From 1967 to 70 about. I did a lot of hitchhiking. And I wrote this book about just the hitchhiking I did. And when there weren't any gigs in 2021, I had time to write this book that I'd been thinking about writing for decades. And I'd even started making notes and stuff over the decades. And hopefully it'll be published in 2024, but it's not guaranteed yet. But it's called, I'm not sure what the title will be, but it's about hitchhiking. And I wrote the whole book and then added up, I went from there to there and there to there, and I got a big spreadsheet about where I was when, and then I added up the mileage, and it kind of blew my mind, 25,000 miles of hitchhiking.
That could be a song title right there.
Yeah.
25,000 miles of hitchhiking to go with the book.
Yeah. Right.
Well, in your long career, you've seen many trends come and go. LPs, 8-tracks, cassettes, CDs,
Yeah, right.
LPs back again.
Yeah.
And we've also seen how musicians have a harder time making a living because digital music is the norm. Well, putting air quotes on that. And you can't really you can't monetize it very well. So how does one survive in the music industry in 2024?
I have no idea.
Come on, you have the wisdom of time. And
well, on being over 70 years old, I get a Social Security check.
Well, there's that.
And I still make music. I still travel around and make music because that's allowed. And but yeah, it's so much harder because you used to
sell records,
sell records, and sell CDs. Now, for a long time, a big part of my income was selling CDs after the gig, but that's a lot. CD and LP sales have gone down. Now, LP sales came up to match CD sales, but they're both going down. So
that's a shame. I hate to see that.
But anyway, I have no idea how musicians in the future will make any money at it, but I lived in a good period of time that I actually did.
Would you have any advice for younger musicians now that we've lived through a pandemic? And
yes, my advice for younger musicians is really have a good time and play it and play music and have fun. And if you can have some other activity that makes you money, that would be a wise decision.
Very good. Very good advice. Would you like to do another song before we close out?
I would.
All right.
Now, I mentioned that I like to listen to old recordings. And here's one from Gus Cannon's Jug Stompers, 1929.
Don't know this.
However, when I was starting to play music in the 1960s, there was a hit record on the radio, AM and FM, but a hit record in 1963 by the Rooftop Singers, where they covered the song by Gus Cannon from 1929. I don't know if you'll recognize this one or not, but it goes like this. It's called Walk Right In. Talking about a new way of walking. Do you want to lose your mind? Walk right in, sit right down. Baby, let your mind roll on, roll on. Baby, let your mind roll on. Been so long. Walk right in, stay a little while, honey, let your hair hang down. Everybody's talking about a new way of walking. Do you want to lose lose your mind. Walk right in, sit right down. Baby, let your mind roll on, roll on. Baby, let your mind roll on, roll on. Baby, let your mind roll on, roll on. Baby, let your mind roll on.
I absolutely do know that song. Peter Madcat Ruth is the guest today on Acoustic Alternatives from Grove Studios. And one final question, because
Okay.
you've had a long career in music and just a long life, which is great. What is being done to preserve your legacy?
To preserve my legacy.
You have a lot of things. I just rattled off, like from 1970, you put albums on major labels, and you've done all these things. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Played with Brubecks. Won a Grammy. I mean, like, there should be something that's being done to say.
Well, you can go to my website and
I
read
know
about it.
that's something, but like there should be an archive or something.
I don't know. I won the Harmonica Player of the Year sometime in this century. I forget what year it was. And from the SPA, the Society for the Preservation and Advancement of Harmonicas.
SPA with an H, I see.
Yeah, SPAH. And I don't know.
Somebody needs to get on this.
I don't know.
Somebody needs to collect all your goods and
Have
put them
a
in a spot.
museum someplace?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You have done legendary things, and it is an honor to run into you and know you and call you friend.
Well, very, very good. I hadn't given it a lot of thought, but my plan is to continue to play music.
Nobody lives forever, Peter.
That's correct. One of my an inspirational story I heard was a piano player in Chicago named Blind John Davis. He was 100 years old and he died on his way to a gig.
Wow.
Wow. So maybe
That's it.
So anyway, I have some time left. I'm a mere 75 years old.
I'm not saying you're dying. I'm just saying, like, it's time to start thinking about making sure all of this stuff is collected somewhere so that we can go, Peter left us all of this.
Wow, there's stuff in my office and stuff in my garage. I don't know. So.
Start making a spot for it. All right, tell us again the date of the show.
Okay, Tuesday, April 2nd of this year, 2024, at the Arc in Ann Arbor. Tickets are on sale now.
Thearc.org.
Arc.org. Someone told me yesterday that all the reserved seats are already gone. How
Great.
about that? So anyway.
That's your actual birthday, right?
It's my actual birthday. Seth Bernard will be there as well, and his actual birthday is the day before, April 1st.
Very good.
So that'll be fun. And what else?
Rachel's coming up from Nashville. Buddy's coming up from Nashville.
That's right.
Sherry Kane lives in town still, right?
That's correct.
It's a good lineup. And the Karma
And the
Quartet,
Karma Quartet.
also part of the lineup.
Yeah. And so I'll just throw out a few other things. The Karma Quartet will be playing in Grand Rapids for the Jammy Awards,
Oh,
which
cool.
is the West Michigan Music Awards. And
I went last year.
And we were invited to play this year, so that's
Cool.
that's fun. And
Since you got something else in March, I think you told
and
me.
then I think it's the 3rd of March. It's a Sunday. I'm playing with the Dexter Community Orchestra, playing a harmonica for 2 pieces, both arranged by Chris Brubeck, and that'll be different.
Yeah.
So hey, I guess that's my classical music. I'm trying to earn my Grammy still by playing classical music
right.
once in a while.
Well, I mentioned your website, and I imagine if anybody just Googles Peter Madcat Ruth, they will find it. But the actual website is
PeterMadcatRuth.com, I
Pretty
believe
easy.
is the name of that. And if you go to YouTube as well, if you put Peter Madcat or Madcat Ruth or just
something like that.
if you put Madcat, you get a bunch of growling cats or something. But if you put Madcat Ruth or Peter Madcat Ruth, I have a whole lot of videos up on
Yes,
YouTube.
you do.
Yeah,
You sure do.
I guess that's part of my legacy.
It is. Those will exist until YouTube gets destroyed, which probably will be never. At least I hope not, because this lives on YouTube too.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much for spending time
I'm so
with me.
glad to be here, and goodbye out there in TV land.
There's no land out there called TV land. I've looked for it. Thanks to Grove Studios for being an excellent home. You can look them up as well. Just Google Grove Studios Ypsilanti. You'll find out about it. 24/7 operation. You can rent it anytime you want on the hour. And I'm really grateful that they encouraged me to do this podcast in the first place.
Very good.
They are really the reason I'm doing it. If it hadn't been for them saying, you should do a podcast here, I wouldn't be doing it. So
Good idea.
Thanks to them. And I have had in the past sponsors for the podcast. That's like 2 years ago in the past. So I'm starting to like dwindle away all that money that I made because I didn't take any of it. So now I need Patreon patrons. If you want to find out how to support me on Patreon, go to johnbomarito.com, click on the Acoustic Alternatives tab, and everything you need to know about the podcast, the Patreon page, the weekly YouTube playlist, and the radio show that's on 2 different radio stations.
Oh, boy.
Not even the radio show that I told you about privately before we did this. So there's all sorts of things going on at johnbomarito.com. But Peter Madcat Ruth, thank you so much for being the guest
I'm
today.
so glad to be here. It's great. I had a good time.
Yes, yes. More to come?
I'm going to be around Michigan for a while. I'll be busy playing this summer. Almost all my gigs are within the state of Michigan, so perhaps I'll see you at one of those.
He's got 25 more years left to live, so let's catch him now.
Bye.
All right, thanks a lot.